Mr. Football joins the show in just a couple of moments. Welcome to Hometown Huddle, episode 28. I'm your host, Drake Watson, on this wonderful evening of March 11th, 2026. It's a show tonight that's going to be laced with a bunch of Indian Valley talk for obvious reasons. We've got Indian Valley's own Grady Kinsey joining the show in just a couple of moments. We had an incredible one-on-one sit-down with him. His whole family was here. It was an incredible experience. But because of that, because we're going to be talking so much about Indian Valley, that kind of inspired this week's trivia question. Remember, we're doing trivia every episode of Hometown Huddle. So, the question on tonight's show is, when Indian Valley North and Indian Valley South consolidated in 1988, what school did Indian Valley defeat in its first football win in the fall of 1988? Be the first to email the correct answer to drakewatson@harcomedia.com, and you can win yourself a free round of golf just down the road at the beautiful Cadiz Country Club. That's tonight's trivia question. We'll get to Grady Kinsey's interview here in just a moment. But let me tell you about the guy first of all. Great guy, great family. Again, the family was here. It was an incredible evening all the way around. But part of what makes him so interesting to listen to is the fact that he's such a team-oriented guy, and he's one of the most humble people that you'll meet. He talks about, in just a moment, about meeting really great football people, and I would include him in that list because he's so humble. He's so quick to deflect personal accolades and talk about the team. So he's not going to be the guy that walks into a room and tells you about all of his stats. So that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here to lead the show with. So he set an OHSAA record with 133 career touchdowns, number one all-time OHSAA, great stuff. 8,607 career rushing yards at Indian Valley. The 2024 state championship season saw him rush for 3,278 total yards. He went 47-9 in his 4 seasons at Indian Valley. And maybe the most important thing, at least to his dad, according to the other night, he's Indian Valley's all-time leading tackler. You think Biden could do that? I don't think so. I think Grady Kinsey, one of the best players to ever play at Indian Valley, he's going to Air Force this fall. We're going to be able to catch him in a Falcons uniform. We've had a Falcon over here for a long time. You know why? Because of a guy like Grady Kinsey. So he's not only going to play college football and make a great impact in that community, but he's going to serve his country, and we thank him for that. So without further ado, here's a look at our nearly hour-long one-on-one sit-down with Indian Valley's Grady Kinsey. Grady Kinsey, welcome in. We're glad to welcome you here. We're certainly appreciative that you take the time out of your evening to come and speak with us. Thanks for stopping by. We've got a lot of things to talk to you about this evening, and we're thankful that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
So, I mean, there's so much to touch on. Your time at Indian Valley, of course, the upcoming season at Air Force. I guess first of all, what's that process look like? Where are you at in that process? When do you go out to Air Force?
So yeah, that process, it was actually a pretty long, strenuous process as far as even after my whole recruitment.
Okay.
The application to the Air Force Academy,
Yeah.
and the medical exams and stuff of that nature. Right now, we're all done with that. The weight's off the shoulders, and the due date's June 25th. That's where we start basic training. That'll be 6 weeks. Roll straight into football camp in August, and their season's on.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, you guys, I don't think you play any like Power 4 opponents. Like, it's a pretty favorable schedule, I'd imagine, as well. Have you looked at it?
Yeah, there's a couple FCS teams on
Yeah.
there, and then obviously Mountain West, kind of a grinder.
Yeah,
but
you got the Wyoming Cowboys out there.
Yeah, there's some good teams in there, so I'm excited to see how it goes and see what we can do with these guys.
You talked about a weight being lifted off your shoulders. The entire recruiting process, I mean, kind of walk us through that from the beginning all the way until, as you said just now, and you were being recruited, obviously, as you were playing. Like, what's that like? You're now getting looks. Maybe when you're a freshman, you're not getting any looks, but as you go throughout, you're getting more eyeballs on you. Does that play a factor in terms of the pressure that you maybe have to perform on a Friday night?
I don't think it really played into pressure as far as playing football. I think, this is a personal opinion of mine, I think being a football recruit and being a football player are two vastly different things. I think that, you can put stuff on tape and be this big and this fast and, go wherever and, it not necessarily, have to be great, doing great things all the time. Where, there's also some guys I like to say some of the best guys I've played in my high school career work at Pro Via now and didn't even go to college. I think I played Logan Yoder, Garaway quarterback my freshman year. I remember him just tearing us up, looked like Johnny Manziel. And now he didn't play football in college.
Right.
So, there's just guys that are, players, guys that are recruits.
Is it more so like your time on the field is independent of, the recruiting process is almost more comparable to what you do in the classroom? It's kind of things that you got to get done. You're responding to different folks. You're making sure you're updating your stats on whatever. Would you say that's accurate, that it's more so of a off the field kind of deal?
Yeah, it's definitely more of an off the field kind of, effect. And it was a very good process. I met so many great people, all of them coaches. Me and my parents talk about it. It's football guys, high level football guys, some of the best guys you meet in the world just because of, the teamwork, the, toughness that it takes, the smarts that it takes to be a football coach. So we met, a whole bunch of people, and it was a great experience for me and my family.
It's kind of interesting to me. All those guys, I'm sure, want to see you succeed. They want to see you do well, no matter what school you pick. What was it like when you decided to go with Air Force and all those MAC schools and all those Ivy League schools? Did anybody reach out and say hey, would have loved to have you, but I wish you nothing but the best? Did you say you meet a lot of great guys? Is that something that you sensed from the other schools that were taking a look at you?
Yeah, that was the hardest part for me.
Yeah.
Is right after I committed, having to call all the coaches that I was close with. There was a coach at Youngstown State. He was my first offer whenever he was at Toledo. And then he went to Youngstown State, and he offered me there. And he was a John Glenn guy. And me and him had a great relationship, and texted all the time. And I think sometimes he'll throw me a text even to this day. We're just close like that. And that was hard to tell him hey, man, I'm going to a different school after you spent all this time recruiting me and stuff like that.
You've had a lot of success, obviously, thus far throughout high school, and I imagine, your story is nowhere near being finished. I think a lot of times with successful people, there's at least a little piece of them that's a little crazy, a little insane, because you have to have that drive that you almost don't take no for an answer. So I'm interested in your take on this. At what point did you say to yourself, if applicable, I want to play college football. I want to play football in college. And then the follow-up to that, more importantly, is you want to serve your country. I think the first one, some folks might say, you get some folks, maybe not you, because you always looked like you could play, but there's a lot of times folks have big dreams and people tell them you got to be a little realistic here, but they have that kind of craziness about them and they end up being successful. What was it like when you figured out that you were serious about playing ball in college?
Yeah, so I really like that. I just heard a quote the other day. I think it was my psychology teacher. He told me, ordinary people do extraordinary things all the time. Yeah. So you just have to have that vision. And as far as that question, when I really wanted to play college football, football is my favorite sport growing up. I love the physicality of it. Started off as an O-lineman. And then,
Did you really?
Yeah, started off as an O-lineman. And then, through middle school, started running the ball a little bit. Had a good season in 8th grade, scored a bunch of touchdowns. And that was whenever I was really having a lot of fun with it. And freshman, sophomore year, I was kind of spread thin playing. I was playing football, playing baseball, wrestling, running track, doing all this. And then after my sophomore football season, that's where I really decided hey, I want to play Division I football, win a state championship, win Mr. Football. I just want to go as high as I can with this. So with that off season, I quit wrestling. Just went full training, speed training at +2 University in New Philadelphia. And now I'm at Columbus training. And I also just started lifting so much. Yeah. And I got with a recruiting coordinator, DJRS, based out of Columbus. And he did a great job in helping me, garner relationships with coaches and kind of just help me and my family through that process. So I'd say definitely that winter is the time where I was like, yep, I'm taking this as far as I can. I'm going all in and, just go as far as you can.
You touched on it a few moments ago, but going to a service academy, you mentioned basic training. Like you're a college athlete, you're a student, you're also, you're going to basic training. So it's kind of this blend of a whole bunch of different things. What's that like? And, I don't know how much you would be aware, but what's the difference between that and, say, just going to any other FBS program, maybe like an OU or, a Toledo? What's the difference between that and then your service academies?
Yeah, so there's really a big difference as far as your lifestyle.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a regimented lifestyle every single day from, 7 o'clock until you go to bed. And as far as football, I mean, we played football at the same level, if not higher, sometimes lower. But, we're competing with those teams. And, yeah, there is parts that kind of suck as far as, like, this summer, taking 6 weeks out of my training plan to, work towards the military side of things at basic training. But I think it's something that I'm personally very interested in. Like, I am kind of bummed out that I'm missing out on that training. I might lose some weight, lose some speed, lose some strength. But also, I'm kind of a nerd whenever it comes to that military stuff.
Okay.
And I'm very excited about that as well.
What are the things about the military side of things that fascinates you? And also, when did you figure out, not only do I want to play college football, but I want to serve my country? When was that realization for you?
Yeah, so like you said, I was recruited by MAC schools, Ivy League schools, and then also service academies. Whenever I visited, me and my family, we went, visited some Ivy League schools, felt as if didn't really fit into the culture there, and the level of football they play is lower than, let's say, like the MAC schools.
Yeah.
And then at the MAC schools, the football, it's a high level of football.
Yeah.
But the academics is lower than the Ivy League schools.
Okay.
So then whenever we go to the service academy, they tell us, academics are about just as high as Ivy League schools, and the football is they play at the same level and they have great success.
Yeah.
So, and then on top of that, there's the opportunity to serve, which gives you just a direction in your life and a community that you're going to be a part of forever.
Yeah.
And I'm already more of a type A regimented guy. So I think that, military academy can be a very, service academy can be a very good place for me to be at, and where I can, potentially prosper and become the best dude I can be and the best football player I could be.
Yeah, I think I want to talk about, and I talk to coaches sometimes about, what do you try to teach your players that they can take with them beyond the sport that they're playing, and also what role that their program plays in the community. And it's no doubt that there are 5- and 6-year-olds at Indian Valley games, and they look and they point to number 22 on the field and they say, I want to be him one day. Does that ever cross your mind? And if so, what kind of things go into what you're doing, not only on the field, but also off the field, to make sure that you're setting a good example for those guys? You talked about being the best guy that you can be in that going into your decision to go to Air Force and play college football and those things. What kind of things come across your mind in terms of being a role model for the youth in the community?
Yeah, so whenever I, deal with that, I put myself back in time to whenever I was about 9, 10 years old, looking up to guys like Caden Hostetler, Cade Williams, Jake Davis, stuff like that. I think, at that point in your life as a child, you're so moldable, and your mind is your mind's like a sponge. You see the coolest guy doing something kind of iffy, you want to do it. So yeah, that's really in my mind a lot of times. Like, I can just think of yesterday. It's funny you brought this up, but actually Jake Davis, he held all the records. He's a great running back. Before my time, like 2011 to 2014, 15. And his 3 little boys were at the park, and I was throwing some batting practice to my little brother.
Okay.
And I run into them and, give them a little pep talk about how they need to be running the ball pretty hard these next few years. Yeah. And it's always great to be able to be a part of that cycle. I really think that's awesome that like I see those guys being positive role models to me, Jake being a positive role model to me, and then I can kind of keep that cycle going by being a good dude to set an example for his kids.
Yeah.
So I think that's really just what it's all about, and a big part of sports is social interactions like that and what shapes you.
Well, and the life lessons that you learn and just all those kinds of things. And I think that's awesome, you just being a role model, and not just being a role model because you know that folks look up to you, but making sure you're doing things the right way, making sure you're setting a positive example. I want to talk about your time at Indian Valley, of course. I think it was 47-9, something like that over your 4 years. Kind of from your freshman year, you talked about bouncing around a little bit, maybe in junior high, playing on the line a little bit. Talk to us about, we were just talking a few moments ago in the other room about you had a game against the 23 season, and then the 24 season, and the 25 season, all of which have their own kind of story and their own ups and downs in those things. What sticks out to you the most about your time at Indian Valley?
I really love to see the growth in the mindset of the kids, as far as there was a turning point where we beat Dover, a team that we had not beat for 17 games in a row. We were like 0-17 against them. And we had, we lost a big senior class, and this was my junior year, of course. The year before we lost, big senior class with a bunch of good athletes, lost a bunch of skill guys, few linemen. And we came into that season with high expectations. That was right after I had that sophomore offseason where I decided to kind of, lock in and, start to try to be the best football player I can be. And we went and we beat Dover by, I think it was about a score. And it was this big, massive, event. We went back, and the town was so excited. And that's whenever I think Indian Valley football realized that there's no limitations on what you can do. You should not go into something thinking that you're going to lose. And then ultimately, that belief and that wave of, just confidence went through the whole season, ended up winning the state championship that year, and then also going undefeated the next year. And we had that same belief all the way up through. So that was the most profound thing, just to see a team that, my freshman, sophomore year, we go and we play. I mean, we're going and playing Steubenville my freshman year in the playoffs and the regional finals. And
that's a pretty close game too, wasn't it?
Not my freshman year.
Okay.
My sophomore year it was.
I gotcha. Okay.
But my freshman year, it was 48-6.
Okay.
So before that game, I could have told you it was going to be 48-6 because everybody's kind of already defeated.
Okay.
But I think we kind of changed that through leadership and, guys just deciding that it is what you make it.
Yeah. What kind of role does Coach Lancaster play in that? I imagine you had such a successful run over the last several years. What are the things that stick out to you about the way that obviously that doesn't happen by accident, I don't think, changing the mindset of a team so that they don't go into something thinking that they're already defeated, right? Like that's probably something that's difficult to change. That's a culture shift for a program. What kinds of things does he implement that you think is responsible maybe for some of that?
I see him as a very wise figure. He's always given very good advice. And I also see him, I don't know if you've had experience with him, but he's a very commanding presence. You don't really mess around him.
Okay, I got you.
And I think that doesn't really have to be said. And we also have assistant coaches that are kind of that way, Coach Peterman and those guys. And it doesn't have to be said that you're going to work hard, you're going to be a good dude, and you're going to do whatever it takes to win. But then he also brings the element in of he's a very funny guy.
Okay.
And he kind of lightens it up. And that's whenever I look back on my 4 years and I think of Coach Lank, I think of the times in practice where he's, saying goofy stuff and, kind of making us laugh and enjoy the times that we're spending while also getting stuff done. I think the balance of that, of prioritizing being the best football team we can and also having the best time we can.
Right.
I think that was just, a masterful job there.
I think if you take that latter portion away, you almost need that other element of a coach or leadership, because you have to have something that makes the guys want to play for him. And you got to be likable. You can get things done and everything, but you could be likable at the same time.
Yeah, that even goes into your personal mindset. I think this was a big shift from my sophomore year to my junior year was, your mindset of playing football. You go in there at least in my experience, freshman, sophomore year, I'm so wound up. Like I said, I'm a type A guy. I want to sleep 8 hours a night, have the perfect thing to eat, warm up just the right way and go out there, and I'm so tight. I want to do everything so right. But then once my junior year came, I kind of started researching more into, sports mindset, sports psychology, stuff of that nature. And what I've realized works for me is just have as much fun as possible. And then also, whenever it comes to training and, like I said, sleeping and eating, you can be type A guy there. But whenever it comes to right before the game and you're warming up and you're about to go play, it's about having fun.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I feel like I make the most plays.
Okay.
And I feel the most intrinsically motivated to go out and play football and not do it to try to show someone else or make my coach happy, but instead because I'm just a guy that likes to play football.
Oh, for sure. Do you even get nervous before games?
Whenever I was younger, very.
Okay.
But I like to think of it like a 50-50 chance. Either you're going to win or you're going to lose. So that's kind of how I look at it now. And I like to go out having fun with my buddies. And I think I'm very competitive and I just want to win. Yeah. So that's really my mindset going into it.
So it must be the 23 season was the close loss to Steubenville, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, sir. It was the 23 season. It was the regional semifinals.
Okay.
And it came down to an onside kick at the end.
Did it really?
Yeah.
And then the 24 season, no losses to talk about there, which is good on your part. Kind of recap that season, maybe the flow of the season. You touched on it a little bit, but I think the mindset, that stuff is so interesting to me. The mindset of a team as you go through, kind of give the synopsis of that season in a nutshell, the most important things that you take away from it, and obviously culminating up in Canton with the state championship.
So there was there's a lot of question marks going into that team, at the very start of the year, because like I said, we lost that big class, and the leadership was kind of new guys. And, something that stuck out to me was like none of these guys were too cool for school or trying to be like Mr. Cool Guy or anything. These were just guys that liked football, liked each other, had a good time. And we had a good off season. And then, like I said, we went in and won our first few games. And then we had that Dover game, which it was at Dover. Okay. It was, packed crowd. I remember first drive I fumbled. They scored in 3 plays. And it was...
Does that weigh on you at all? Like well, of course, you're probably playing defense at that time. Are you still playing... I guess that makes it better. The fact that you're playing defense, does that kind of allow you to put it behind you a little easier?
Yeah, I like playing defense because it gives you less time to think about it. Yeah. I've always hated... My whole life, I've always hated sports where, you're playing in the outfield, you make a mistake, oh yeah, here, sit and think about it for about 30 minutes before you're up the bat. So that's another thing.
And if you're thinking about it, you take it out on the other guy.
Yeah, hit them hard the next time. And me and my parents like to joke a lot. It seems like I fumble and then I play real good. So I don't know.
I have to start fumbling a little more often.
Yeah, hopefully I don't. I don't want to start fumbling more often, but that's kind of what it seems like. And then that game we ended up winning, and we had another close game against Garaway. That was a kind of a get back game at them after they were beating up on us for a few years. So that was a game I loved. And then towards the end of that regular season, pulled my groin, started deteriorating, getting much worse. There was a point where we played our rivals, Claymont, week 10, and I could not run. It was terrible. And by the help of our chiropractor and Dennison and our physical therapy lady that came to the house and the trainer at school and a whole bunch of stuff my whole life was dedicated around this injury. Better, and I felt that was a point where I felt a lot of pressure. I felt like everybody was on me. I remember talking to my mom about it. This was week 12, the Saturday after the game. I remember it hurting so bad. I remember talking to my mom. She was like, maybe you should just not play for the rest of the year. I was like, Mom, no, we're playing. She was like, maybe you should take a week off. I'm like, nope.
This is so much funnier because she can hear you right now and we can't hear them.
So after that, thank the Lord that injury, started to get a little bit better. And once we came to, playing St. Clairsville week 14, we ended up playing our best game. Our guys just came alive. I mean, it felt like every ball was bouncing our way, and that was just a great game of ours. And then, went and played Cincinnati Taft in the semis. And, that was our first team that we played where we're up against these guys and we're physically outmatched. Like, these are some Division I players.
Yeah.
I mean, they have guys that are, 4-star, 5-star recruits going to Indiana, place at Wisconsin. And, they're a very intimidating crew there. We get down 14-0 against them. They return the opening kickoff to the house.
Okay, yeah.
And
feels like complete opposite of the St. Clairsville game, I'm sure.
yeah,
for that moment,
felt like the ball was just bouncing their way. And then we fought back in that game. They didn't score in the second half, and we won that game, and we were feeling pretty lucky. And then next thing you know, we're getting ready to play Sandusky Perkins in the state championship. And we like our odds. I mean, this is a team that going in, we knew we could do what we do, like as far as running the ball on them.
Yeah.
And, they have a dynamic offense, but we're going to see who can make a stop.
Yeah.
And we went in that game like we're either going to win or we're going to lose. So let's go do it. And we had a lot of fun doing it. And that game, it was amazing. It was amazing.
I bet those games against teams with these prolific, high-octane offense, I bet they hate playing you guys because you guys hold on to the football for so long. And it's just, it must feel good. You guys are just kind of like, you guys can bring the best offense you have at us, but you're never going to see the ball because we're going to just keep a hold of it for maybe 8-10 minutes. I mean, that's the way I think I was at the New Lexington, the game that was against New Lexington at Coshocton this past year. And I felt like you guys were 2 for 2 or 3 for 3, something like that. And I could be wrong. And it was halftime, but you guys had scored every time you touched the ball, but only had like 2 or 3 scores on the board.
Oh, yeah, that kind of was a slow game. This is how we play, especially whenever, like I like saying that Sandusky Perkins game, I was still dealing with that groin. So, popping a big run really wasn't an option for me. Yeah. And that just, I think it came back to help us, honestly. Because the last thing we want is that Braylon Collier, that great wide receiver that's at Michigan State doing great things right now. Last thing we want is him running around with our young DBs that, seems like he scores a touchdown about every time he touches the ball. So that was just an amazing game. I can't say that enough. Like, me and my parents watch it all the time. That was just a great game and great time.
What's so crazy is I was somewhere in Cleveland like not long ago and it was like a pizza shop and on the TV, and it's not football season. And I go to like the back room and there's TV and they got like your game on there. Completely off season. Like it was wild to me. And it was incredible to see. Talk about maybe was there any kind of pressure following that season? Then you're going into, because you're looking at it maybe like, well, you're a junior, so all the juniors on that team, now it's kind of like, can you repeat? You're probably hearing that all winter, all spring, all summer. What was the pressure of that like heading into the 25 season?
Yeah, so that was our goal. We really didn't feel too much pressure as far as
outside noise.
As far as outside noise, I think we have a very positive community.
Okay.
Everybody was still happy that we won. I don't think anybody was really pressuring us too much, and we were taking the season one game at a time. I remember Coach Lancaster giving us a speech on August 1st. He was telling us, this regular season schedule is legit.
But yeah,
like we got these first 3 games, we might drop 1 or 2, like we might lose a couple. And I remember looking at my buddies and going, nah. And we ended up having a good regular season, and I was proud with the way this team came together this year, even though it didn't go how we wanted to in the end. It's how the cookie crumbles sometimes.
It's like movies and sequels. So a lot of times people say the sequel's not as good as the original.
Yeah.
But I think you got to be able to be nuanced and think, well, take away the original for a second and just focus on the sequel in isolation, and you can see how good it really is. So take that 24 team in season, just set that aside for a moment. That 25 team in season was incredible.
Yeah, it was incredible. And
in the Steubenville game?
I mean, the Steubenville game, that was a great highlight. And I try to tell my guys that throughout the season, like, don't have your eyes set so in front of you that you aren't, realizing you're beating, like we beat Garaway by multiple scores. This is awesome. We should be excited, not like, well, it's not as good as the state championship last year.
Yeah.
Like, we need to be, grateful for what we have right now. And I think we did a good job in doing that. And we had some of the most fun times in this 2025 season. And we played, in my opinion, the best football an Indian Valley team has played.
Okay.
I think, me personally, I think the 2025 team would beat the 2024 team.
Okay.
But maybe I'm partial because I was a senior. But it was a great time. Both seasons, amazing time with my family and my football family as well. The community behind us. It felt like, for a little bit there, it felt like Indian Valley couldn't be stopped. Like we had some sort of plot armor and we couldn't, lose or anything of that nature. So it was just a very blessed time. I'm thankful to be a part of something great because there's a lot of people that I personally know a lot of great football players that are going to play college football that, maybe they aren't in the best program and they went and had bad seasons all 4 years and didn't have that much fun. So, I'm so blessed personally, and everybody that's in the community and on the team just should be so thankful to have the experience we did.
One of the things I'm interested in from a team mindset kind of aspect, you talked about one game where everything was going your way. It was just clicking. It was all you guys, the ball was bouncing your way. And then right after that, you have a game where it's just, at least at the beginning, you're just off for a while. What do you make of the difference when things are going your way and you have an incredible night and then another night when maybe it's just not our night? You still might win the game, but you're just off. What goes into a difference like that?
So whenever you're in that pit of like nothing's going for us, we're having a bad time, I think it comes down to leadership of players leading by example. I don't think it's a coach telling you, come on, guys, let's do it. We've been here before.
Yeah.
In my experience, I don't think that is as important as seeing. I have this mental image in my head right now of playing Taft, down by 14. I'm a play side or linebacker to the field. I get blocked, and I see Jackson Bircher full sprint all the way across the field, take this kid, tackle him out of bounds. He was a senior captain. And I remember being like, he's selling out.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell out. So, let's do it. It's football. Let's do it. We're men. We got to do what men do.
Yeah.
Let's do it. So I think that's really what sparks me. And I've always I want to be like that. I want to set that example of I'm going to sell out so everybody else sell out. And if we lose, we lose, but we're going to do it as hard as we can.
Sure. We'll talk about we'll probably not talk. We already did kind of before the cameras turned on about the end of that 25 season, the game against Glenville, which, if you're not an Indian Valley fan, if you're not a Glenville fan, was an incredible game, storyline wise. But after that, you think about the Mr. Football time. And what was that experience like for you, your family? We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, but kind of recap that. What was that? What was going through your mind through all of that?
Yeah, so after that season, we're bummed out.
As you should be, because you care.
We're bummed out. We just played a real hard game against, I think, I might be partial here against, but I think they're one of the best Division IV football teams of all time in Ohio.
Yeah.
I think so. But, that's a hard loss, but, everybody fails except for one guy, So after that, we're at the house. We're sad. I'm doing a workout. I'm supposed to sign on Wednesday. So I'm up in the office across the road from my house. We got a workout room in there, and that's usually where I work out. And Coach Lank, he's calling me, and he tells me, "Hey Grady, so can I come over? Me and our athletic director, we're gonna come over, Mr. Golick and I, and we're gonna talk about this signing day that you're gonna have on Wednesday." And this is on Monday, so I'm like, "What? We already have it planned?" Like,
yeah. What else
Coach,
is there?
Why are you wanting to come to my house? This is kind of weird. I'm still kind of fired up about this game. I don't know. And he's like, "Yeah, so we're coming to your house." And I was like, "Okay." I'm in the office across the road from my house, and they come in, and like, "What's up, Grady? Hey, how you doing?" And you could just kind of small talk, and I can tell they're acting weird. And then after that, he's like, "Grady, well, so do your parents know why we're up here?" I'm like, yeah, for a signing day. He's like, well, Grady, I lied to you. And now I'm even more mad because I'm like, why are you lying to me and inviting yourself to my house? And
you don't even know why they're up there at this point.
I don't know why they're up there at this point. And they tell me, so you won Mr. Football. And I remember being like, oh, it was a great time. We were happy for about 5 seconds. Then we're back mad about the game. But then it ended up being a great experience. We went up there that Thursday and received the trophy. My family, my kindergarten teacher came with us and her husband. It was a good time. My girlfriend came and went up there and got to wear my suit and accept my trophy. Felt like I was winning the Heisman. It was pretty cool. I thought it was a really blessed time. I thought it was a good time. Got to talk on the camera. It was a little cold outside, but other than that, I thought it was an amazing time. And I think that just reaching that goal inspires a lot of people. Kind of inspires myself to, I can shoot for whatever, and if you don't make it, you don't make it. But sometimes you get your goals. So I thought it was just blessed to receive that trophy.
It's like that analogy, if you have ingredients in the kitchen, you're not going to guarantee yourself a good meal. But if you don't have ingredients in the kitchen, you guarantee yourself no meal. So you can, I like the way that you think about those stuff. And I love the aspect about being upset about the Glenville game and everything, because it's and that's the thing about football is there's individual things here and there, but those are all kind of supplemental to the team aspect of it. And I just you seem like a team-oriented guy.
Yeah, I'm a team guy. Yeah. So that makes my heart happy winning a trophy like that, winning an award like that. But at the same time, it doesn't. I'd rather win another state championship than not win Mr. Football.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and stuff happens for a reason. And I got nothing to complain about.
Talk about I bet you can't complain about this. Talk about your offensive line, especially the 24 group, the 25 group. Was there a lot of turnover there from 24 to 25 on the O-line?
Yes, sir. There was a lot of turnover. We just lost our center and our left tackle, which. Two great guys, two of my best buddies.
Okay.
And I'm always hanging out with the O-line. Those are my guys. You got to be buddies with them. And, still to this day, I still lift every day with Titan Peterman and Brogan Wilson.
Okay.
And those guys, those are probably the two biggest of the group. I know, as you know, it's a smaller group. Brogan O'Connor played left tackle for us this year. He's wrestling 155.
Yeah.
Or 150. Yeah. In wrestling season. So it's a smaller group, but Coach Peterman and Coach Big, they both do a great job over there in that O-line corner, get them moving their feet, blocking with purpose, blocking with intent, firing out, moving people that are bigger than them. And that's something that is a cornerstone of our offense for the last 2 years, really. That's what started the success. You see the highlights of dudes like me and Riker running and making people miss, but it truly starts up front with our guys that are trained every day to move heavy objects.
Yeah. What kind of, I don't know how much because I talked so Harrison had a really good player not long ago, and one time he was a quarterback, and one time I asked him, I was like, so when you see like a one high shell, like what are you looking at? He goes, I just throw it to whoever's open. So, some guys aren't real big into the schematics of it. I don't know if you are or not, but what were your kind of favorite concepts? Like, you big gap scheme guy, you like to follow your guard around through the hole, or did you guys run a lot of zone, option stuff? What was that look like?
So we were all...
You don't have to give me your whole playbook, but...
Yeah, of course. We were all gap scheme.
Okay.
We have our base power where we got it's two-back power, fullback kicks out the end man, and then we got our guard
pulling
looping
around.
up. That might be my favorite. That has been a staple since I was, the pulling guard and Pee Wee. I was pulling around. So that's been a staple for us. We also, we run counter, stuff like that. So that's the stuff that I like. Now, as far as my position in college, I'm going to be more, on the exterior, more pitches, tosses, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I'm also excited for that because any running back likes open space.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm excited for that. And, I just love that type of I formation, smash mouth football.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss, running the I, but I think I'm going to like this, triple option that we got at Air Force. So I'm just excited. I'm just a football guy, and I just like a lot. I like to run the ball. That's
as any running back probably does. Yeah. You talked about your training and your training regimen, and you're still, what are you, 17 or 18?
18.
So you're like still young. You sure aren't a kid next to me. Like I could tell, like you don't have to tell me to do a training regimen. Like big guy, smart guy. What does that regimen look like? When you like, what's that? What goes into, maybe if it's philosophical or if it's what are the things that you're most focused on as far as your training?
Yeah, so I kind of nerd out on that stuff. Like I said, I'm a type A guy whenever it comes to training and sleep and nutrition. And my parents and girlfriend and family are just usually they get kind of tired of me talking about stuff like that. Like, hey, how many calories do you think this is? Like, what you think I should do this? And my coach is at +2. I'm like, man, should I, can I, stick in a field session into this Tuesday slot where I'm not going to be sore, but it's not going to affect my next workout. So right now, I think this is the best training block that I've been able to have because I don't have any exterior factors as far as football lifting in the morning because, I'm a senior. So I do Monday, I'm at +2 University in Columbus for speed training.
Okay.
Tuesday and Wednesday, I got upper body lift on Tuesday, then another upper body lift and mobility on Wednesday. Then I'm back at +2 on Thursday, and that's another speed training session. Then on Friday, I got track practice workout with Coach Abe, and that would be like a lactic, more of like a long distance workout. Okay. And those really kill us. And then right after that, after my legs get back under me, I got a lower body lift, usually something like front squat, and then some accessory stuff after that. And then on the weekends, I'm back to upper body lifts, and then back Monday, speed training.
That sounds so demanding. You probably don't look at it that way, though, do you? Because you'd love that stuff.
No, right now my legs, I'm only on my legs for 3 days a week, so they're kind of fresh. And then I just have a very good time with it. I love training and, being able to create my own schedule as far as that. But I'm also excited for whenever I, go to the Air Force Academy and they get to just tell me what to do and I just get to do it.
Yeah. So a lot of smart folks out there.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
We talked a little bit beforehand about playing defense as well. And I saw you I was at the Claymont game and in the New Lexington game. And one of the things that I took away is, obviously your offensive success and what that implies about how that offensive line is playing. But you shut out New Lexington. Didn't that end up being 34-0?
Yeah, kind of close to that.
What's it like for you playing? Did you play safety or linebacker on defense? And
played linebacker for 3 years and nose guard for 1 year.
Oh, really?
My freshman year I played nose guard. Mm-hmm.
Wow. What's that? How do you balance that between? You talked about being fresh just a second ago. We talked about the good aspect of not having time necessarily if you were to make a mistake, or even if you were to make a really great play. You don't have time to reflect on it. You just got to go next play. What was that like balancing between playing linebacker and playing running back?
It was very fun. That's the word that comes to mind. It's fun, kind of tiring at the start of the season. Yeah. Once it gets to the end of the season and it's cold, you better hope your butt's out there on the field so you aren't freezing freezing on the sideline. So that was just a great time as far as being able to be physical on the defensive side of the ball. And I like to say if I was 6 inches taller, I'd be a linebacker. So I kind of like to hit and stuff of that nature. Yeah. So there was times where, I'd run a long run, and my coaches were good about it, run a long run, and, I get to take 2-3 plays off on defense before I have to go back in. Yeah. And also, if we were playing a team that we knew it wasn't going to be a good game, like we had them outclassed, and we're trying to, save my legs or save my body for the rest of the season, there'd be games where I would just play offense and not defense. Okay. So I think our coaches did a great job in how they handled that, keeping me fresh while also letting guys that like to play football. So I think that's one of the things about our program that I love the most is we go out and we have, 6-8 guys going both ways, playing teams that only have, some teams got no guys going both ways. Right. And we're beating them. So I think that just shows how tough our kids are and how our coaches aren't afraid to ask something more out of our kids, and, you know, doing the best with what we can have, you know, sometimes beats somebody that thinks, you know, we have to have this many on offense, this many on defense, and not interchange them. So
what's the most challenging part of playing linebacker? Did they blitz you a lot? Do you drop back in the zone? You play man-to-man? Do you ever put you man-to-man on a slot guy? Like, what's that look like? The most challenging maybe aspect of playing defense?
Most challenging would be coverage. Not the best coverage guy.
Okay.
You know, I kind of got short arms on me. Not the most, not the best technique as far as man-to-man.
Yeah.
I never had an interception in my high school career. So that was definitely my weak spot on defense. But, I mean, if Coach Lank was on here, he likes to say the biggest jump in my game from, you know, junior to senior year was defense. I went from being a role guy on defense to being a good player on defense.
Yeah.
And, you know, learned how to tackle a little bit better, played a little bit harder. And I'm proud to say I was an Indian Valley linebacker as well as being a running back.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Well, to circle back to, we talked about Air Force and the military aspect of it. Where do you see yourself, let's call it 10 years down the road? Like, what are you hoping to make of yourself in that regard?
Yeah, I like to tell people when they ask me, I want to fly a plane or shoot a gun.
Okay.
Something cool. I like the military. So I think that, like I said, the pilot route is amazing. We had a assignment where it was basically a virtual job shadow, cold call somebody in the career that you'd like to be in for school. And I talked to Tony Norman. He went to our high school, and he went to the Air Force Academy as a long snapper back in mid-2000s, 2007, maybe that era. And he's actually pretty high ranking in the Air Force.
Okay.
Flew F-16s for a very long time. I believe he still is flying F-16s, and he's moving to D.C. pretty soon. But, I mean, he does a lot of cool stuff, has a lot of cool videos of flying planes, and that's something that's really awesome. I'd love to see myself in that same kind of position, being able to say, hey, my job is to go very fast and go upside down and have fun, doing stuff that is, not very, I don't want to say it's not safe, but it's kind of on the edge. It's something that's exciting.
Average.
Yeah, it's not average. So I think that's very cool, and being able to serve your country in that way, doing something that is that honorable and that hard to do, is something that would be very fulfilling, at least from my perspective. Now, I think that'd be fulfilling to be able to serve your country in that type of way.
And we thank you for that. And that's so courageous, that aspect, but also like getting in a plane and going upside down. I mean, but I don't want to say no different than football, but you're also, I mean, there have been times, I'm sure, where maybe a linebacker or a D tackle was bigger than you or whatever, and you're looking left, you're looking right. There's nowhere to go. I mean, maybe you try to plant or whatever, but you just got to, or maybe it's the other side of the ball. You don't seem like somebody who shies away from doing challenging things or things that takes a lot of courage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that is a big thing. I think our guys do a great job with that, and our coaches preach that to our kids. Is you're not going to play scared. You're going to be the hammer, and not be the nail.
Yeah. Well, talk about you. You've got your family over in the other room. This might be a little odd. I say that because they're going to be able to hear you. But I think it's so important when somebody has, and we've kind of sensed from talking with them a little bit, they've been an integral probably part of your life and your success. Talk about what role they've played and what they've meant to you over the years.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're winners. That's what I like about them. I think that's a big part of, what plays into my mindset is the way that, my dad, I never known him to sleep in. He's always up before me. And my mom's a very smart lady. Not to say that my dad's not smart, but my mom's a very smart lady. And they've done a great job with not just raising me, but like we told you earlier, my brother, he's, academically very high, very smart.
Yeah.
And he's at Ohio University engineering degree.
Okay.
And then the younger two boys, they're also, just good athletes, and they're kind of wiry right now, kind of on the wild side. But I assume my parents are going to rein that in pretty soon, and we're going to be sitting pretty good here. But yeah, my parents could be better. They couldn't be better. They are just integral part, like you said, and they work hard, and we see that example as kids, so we want to do the same.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you talked about the example that those guys who came before you set when you were looking up to them, and then the example maybe that you try to set for the youth in the community, which I think is something that's so, and one of the things that that we just love to see is there's several folks, several of whom are in here that believe in you, that believe in your success, and I think that's so important for somebody and throughout the entire community as well. And I think you've said so many things in the last, hour that maybe show somebody who's younger, it's okay to be a little crazy and have wild aspirations, because you never know until you try those types of things and you give it your all. You never know what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, as corny and cliche as it sounds,
cliches are true, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a cliche if it wasn't true. I mean, nobody would say it if it's not true. I mean, I remember being young, my mom telling me, the cliche, you can do anything you put your mind to. Took that to heart, and you can create great opportunities for yourself, and you can have great success as long as you set your bar high and go for it. And don't worry if somebody thinks, oh man, he thinks he's hot stuff, or he thinks he's this. Be humble about it, but set your goals high, and if you fall short, and you still did something great and put your all into something. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned throughout high school and just my life in general is, shoot as high as you can.
Yeah, no doubt about it. One of the last things before we get you out of here, Gatorade Player of the Year. Talk about that process and what that was like, and similar to kind of how you recapped the Mr. Football Award. Talk about being Gatorade Player of the Year as well.
Yeah, so that was after the fact of the Mr. Football Award. And I think it's just about as prestigious of an award, but they do it in each state. So it's not as personal. Like, they didn't have me go anywhere to receive it. They kind of just, messaged me and then, sent me the stuff, sent me the trophy. The trophy's awesome. Yeah. And the gear's awesome. And it actually got the chance to, every state player of the year for each sport even gets to donate $1,000 to a charity. So we were able to do that. And then they also had the program where we could submit a video, and one from each sport in the whole country gets to win this $10,000 grant that they get to send to a charity or a youth sports organization. Okay. And we ended up sending in that video. I believe it was the day before my birthday. It was like right after Christmas. Send in that video. I didn't think it was very good. I clipped in a professional YouTube video about the T County Rockets that that's where we donated the money. I clipped that in. It was a professional video. I think that's what got the job done. Yeah. And we ended up winning that $10,000 for them. So that was something that I would have never dreamed that, just by me playing some good football, right, I'd be able to, help make it so that Gatorade gives a couple $1,000 to the T County Rockets. So that was something that was just awesome. And that's really the best thing that I think came out of that whole Gatorade Player of the Year award. I think that was just an awesome thing, and also an awesome thing, like you said, to show the younger generation that that's about the coolest thing you can do is share the wealth.
No doubt. That's awesome. Anybody that you love football, I'm sure most of your life, who, whether running backs or just any player, who are some of the guys that you looked up to maybe the most as a young kid, and even still to this day?
Yeah, so I always loved Nick Chubb running the ball. Okay. I love Nick Chubb running the ball, love Zeke Elliott running the ball. And then this is kind of a wild card. I kind of like the wild personalities. I think, watching actually his documentary and his series on Netflix kind of helped play into my mental game that I jumped from sophomore year to junior year of kind of having fun while playing football, and that is Johnny Manziel.
Okay, yeah.
And, you
don't want to have that much fun.
Yeah, I don't have that much fun, but I think I really took away a big part of his game as far as letting loose and having fun. And that's something that really drove me from being a, real tight, like I have to do this and it seems like I'm doing a job on the football field, to the guy that's just having fun running the ball because I intrinsically want to run the ball and I want to tackle people and I want to have fun with my buddies while we're playing high school football. So I think, I like the Johnny Manziels of the world, the Gronks of the world.
Okay.
I like those big personalities, even though maybe I'll never be that type of wild card dude. I like to, kind of insert a little bit of that mindset into my game.
No doubt about it. That's a pretty good list. Well, once again, thank you so much for stopping down here. We couldn't be more appreciative of that, and we certainly wish you nothing but the best in your future and your time at Air Force and everything else. And once again, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it a lot.
We all love a great deal, and we all love a great deal of variety, and that's what you get with Thomas Auto Centers in St. Clairsville, Ohio. You can trade, buy, or sell with Thomas Auto Centers. Listen, Hometown Huddle, I Got Your Six, and Main Street Message, we're constantly on the road. How do we do it? Thomas Auto Centers. That's who we're driven by. All you got to do is go to thomasautocenters.com or visit their location in St. Clairsville. For more details, see the description of the video or the podcast show notes, and with that, back to the episode. Thomas Auto Centers in St. Clairsville, great stuff. Grady Kinsey from Indian Valley, great stuff. We had an incredible time. There were so many people here. I would say the entirety of Harco Media Network was here. Management was here. His family was here. They had a great time. He had a great time. We all had a great time, and we had an incredible time listening to the insightful things that he had to say in regard to his time at Indian Valley, his upcoming season at Air Force, and it was incredible. It was incredible. I think Mom and Dad, some of the greatest people you'll talk to as well. Some of the great people that we've had in here for an interview. I wanted to talk a little bit about Indian Valley, kind of a snapshot of Indian Valley football during his time at Indian Valley. You look at the 2000, again, they went 47-9 in his 4 total seasons at Indian Valley. That started his freshman year in 2022 when they went 10-4, made it all the way to the regional finals where they lost to Steubenville. He talked about this, 41-7 to Steubenville. And then they follow it up in 2023 with another regular season where, as he was saying, they struggled to kind of get over those humps. They ended up losing to St. Clairsville 24-20 in a classic game at Red Devil Stadium, and then they made it to the regional semifinals, lost a close game to Steubenville 42-35, and then you look, all of those things that happened to that team, to those teams in that program, kind of were building them up for what happened in the 2024 season, which of course was the 16-0 state championship season. That was a season that saw them defeat Dover. It saw them defeat Garraway. Kinsey was real passionate about getting a win over Garraway, and they crushed St. Clairsville 48-7 in the playoffs, and they obviously went on to win a state championship. Then you look at his senior year, the 2025 season. We talked about how in isolation, forget what I just said, in isolation, a 12-1 season is always something to be proud of. It's always an incredible accomplishment, and it obviously culminated with the heartbreaking loss to Glenville. I mean, Glenville comes out on fire, and then Indian Valley strikes back in the second half, and it seems as though, I was listening to it on the radio, it seems as though they're going to make a great comeback and make their way to another state championship, and Glenville was able to hold them off. If you're not an Indian Valley person, if you're not a Glenville person, it was a great game. As far as you want to watch a great football game, there's a great football game. And a really close one at that. And it's just astonishing that Janaden Hutton's like 35 minutes up the road from where I'm at right now in Cadiz, and it's not a large town at all. It's a pretty large district, but for a small area school like Indian Valley to go head-to-head with Glenville, we talked back in November about all the guys that Glenville sends to Ohio State and subsequently the NFL. For them to go head-to-head with them is nothing that should be taken lightly. It's a pretty good accomplishment, even though they didn't get the result that they wanted, a very close game against Glenville. But the highlight of that season, obviously they defeated their rivals. They defeated Claymont. I was at that game, but they defeated Steubenville 30-0 in the regular season. And I know Grady and the rest of the guys were very proud of that, and they should be proud of themselves over the last 4 years, going 47-9. Again, he's going to Air Force, as you know by now. Air Force, I thought it was interesting if we would to take a look at the Air Force Falcons schedule here in the fall of 2026. I am bummed out that Duquesne goes to Air Force and it's not the other way around, because if it was the other way around, Pittsburgh's not far from here either, and I'd love to go catch Grady run the football against Duquesne. And I think, again, given the conversations, we had a ton of great conversations before the interview, after the interview, with the whole family. I think Kinsey's going to play, and play this fall for them. Play meaning be on the field a good amount for the Falcons of Air Force. So, unfortunately, Duquesne goes out to Air Force. But if you're looking to catch them in action, the Falcons and Grady Kinsey, we've internally looked at this a little bit at Hometown Huddle, and we figured out that on October 10th, they travel to Mountain West Foe, Northern Illinois. I know it's tough to get used to if you haven't been following the landscape of college football, but Northern Illinois, about an 8-hour drive from Cadiz, and that might be an opportunity to go see the Falcons play. On November 7th, they travel to Army up at West Point. That's also about an 8-hour drive, a little more expensive of a trip given the tolls, but Army and Northern Illinois are some road games for Air Force that, if you're okay with an 8-hour drive, or if you have the ability to fly out to those locations, you might be able to catch the Falcons in action this fall. They also travel to Wyoming. As you could tell, Wyoming is a little bit of a side team for myself. And you remember the Dr. Pepper commercial? You got a side team out west? Yeah, I thought they were talking directly to me, because the Cowboys are my guys out there, but I might have to switch that out for the Air Force Falcons. Wyoming, a great environment out there. Air Force travels to Wyoming on October 24th. Another thing about the Air Force schedule, they don't play, as I was telling Grady, they don't, and as he knows pretty well, they don't play any Power 4 opponents. They don't play anybody from the Big Ten, SEC, ACC, or Big 12. So if you want to look at it that way, it could be a successful season for the Falcons with Grady Kinsey. With that being said, we're gonna take a quick break, and it's probably the most exciting. Listen, it's March. It's probably the most exciting time of the year for basketball fans all around the state of Ohio. So, and that's not only college, that's high school as well. So we're gonna take a quick break. We'll come right back and we'll talk some high school basketball in the Ohio Valley. Spring is on the horizon, and with that comes spring cleaning. But why do the cleaning yourself when you can call Elite Mobile Power Washing of Cadiz, Ohio, 740-491-1120. Listen, you need your gutters cleaned out, concrete washed off, the side of your house washed off, pool decks, heavy equipment, you name it, they can wash it, and it'll look better than it has ever looked before. Once again, all you got to do is give them a call, 740-491-1120. More details in the description of the video or the podcast show notes. And with that, back to the show. You yourself never want to be considered washed up, but maybe the concrete outside does. Maybe the side of your house does. And that's exactly why you got to go with the folks we just talked about. Elite Mobile Power Washing. They do incredible things and get it nice and clean for you. Okay, it's time to, first of all, take a sip of the coffee that we've got here as we continue on this evening's episode of Hometown Huddle. Okay. Last week I was saying Malvern and River could be one of the better games of the weekend. That was, I want to say that was Saturday night at the Eco Center in St. Clairsville. We were wrong, and we're wrong a fair amount on this show. We're not afraid to admit it. We're also not afraid to admit when we're right, but we were wrong. I say we to kind of deflect some of the some of the blame, but I was wrong about Malvern and River. Malvern jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Listen, they crushed River. There's nothing else to it. And they ended up winning. They ended up winning their district. They ended up beating River 44-32 was the final. Again, before River even scored any points, which was with like 1 minute and 53 seconds to go in the first quarter, Malvern held River scoreless. They've got that good IVC defense, that old school tough IVC defense the Hornets have. They didn't allow any points from River until 1 minute and 53 seconds to go in the first quarter. It was 10-0 at that point. It was a free throw for River that got the Pilots on the board. And then Malvern really never looked back. They were up by as many as 21 in the third quarter. And although River may have, you don't want to say comeback, but River closed the gap a couple of times, but it still ended up, once Malvern was up 10-0, it really never ended up being much different than that. Obviously, the Hornets ended up winning by 12. Malvern's got Southern, not Southern local, but Southern from the southern portion of Ohio. That's tomorrow. That's tomorrow at Ohio Dominican in Columbus. They'll be looking to win a regional semifinal game. Moving along, you already saw, if you're following us on the social pages, which you need to be, by the way, it's all the social media pages that you can think of. You can find Harco Media Network. It's as easy as that. You already saw our breakdown on the St. Clairsville-West Muskingum game. But how did St. Clairsville get there? We were at this game. Hometown Huddle was at the game. Why? It was down the road at Harrison Central. St. Clairsville and Coshocton. I walked into this game a little bit late, admittedly. I walked into this game and it was one of those games that you couldn't quite make sense of because it was nothing other than a quintessential back and forth close game. That's about all I can say about it. St. Clairsville, I think they were up by 5 at one point. Then in no time, they were down by 5, and then they scored 6 straight. I think this is all in the third quarter to go up by a point, and we're right back to being tied up. And I figured, well, it all balances out anyway. So, that's the way it goes. St. Clairsville ended up prevailing in this game. 52-44 was the final. Again, back and forth throughout the entire game. It was a test of the competitive resolve of that St. Clairsville team. Coach Ryan Clifford has those guys. Remember, he talked about, if you caught the interview we did with him back in November, he talked about throwing his guys in the fire and not being afraid to schedule tough opponents. And you just have to imagine it's things like that. It's that kind of philosophy that allows his team to have great competitive character in a close game. St. Clairsville easily could have just shut down. There were several moments in that Coshocton game where you felt like, oh man, it's over. It's just not our day. It's not our day. Nope, not St. Clairsville. They have the competitive character to keep fighting, and it certainly helps when you have a guy like Griffin Straub. He made so many great plays. He had a dunk in the fourth quarter that set the place on fire right in front of his own student section. You got to imagine they were fired up about that. He had a dunk that put him up 42-35 again in the fourth quarter. And then St. Clairsville's up 48-44, so still a 2-score game. Coshocton has life, and I'm standing in the opposite corner underneath the scoreboard, and Griffin Straub with a block. I mean, the Coshocton player tried to pass it to his teammate, and Straub just jumped up. He's got a big frame and smacked that ball straight into the stands. You had to make sure people in the stands were okay because of how hard he hit that ball. But he was big for St. Clairsville. St. Clairsville's also been a very balanced team throughout the season. It might not be in terms of points, but everybody is crucial. Everybody is important on that team. It's a very balanced effort. And again, they have the kind of competitive character that can make you think we might be capable of winning a state championship. And they'll have an opportunity when they, by this point, you know what's happened with them in West Muskingum. So again, as I'm recording this on Tuesday night, that's one of the games that I'm going to be keeping an eye on. But it was the St. Clairsville-Coshocton game that had me ultra fired up just the other day. Once again, St. Clairsville ended up beating Coshocton 52-44 at Harrison Central. Before we move along, we've got to stay extra caffeinated because we've got, this actually doesn't make a ton of sense when you really break it down, but I thought it would sound cool. We've got to stay extra caffeinated because we've got a road trip ahead of us. At the time that you're watching this game has already concluded. It's John Glenn and Maysville. Hopefully you saw the recap, or I should say the preview that we did on the social pages, but that's going to be one of the biggest basketball games that I may have ever been at. We're going to be down there, myself and a friend of the program, and so the caffeine's got to fuel us, right? Not only Thomas Auto Center, but caffeine goes a long way in helping us get to where we go at Hometown Huddle for the Hometown Highways Tour. John Glenn, a big win over Cambridge to punch their ticket to play Maysville down at OU. Who else is going to be playing at OU? On Saturday at noon, Steubenville will be, by way of a thrilling overtime win over Bishop Hartley. They defeated Bishop Hartley, Steubenville did, 74-72 in overtime. They now will take on Bishop Watterson in the regional final, as I said, on Saturday at noon, down at Ohio U. One of the things that I think about is, as a football guy, which we don't have the football on the set with us tonight, that's my bad. I was throwing it around a little bit too much in the studio this afternoon. I can't help but think a guy like Santino Haney and a guy like Cole Bowers, we've mentioned those guys ad nauseum over the last 2 or 3 episodes of Hometown Huddle. That's because they are very important pieces of that Steubenville group. They're also members of the 25 football team that got crushed by Watterson to end their season. Not only last year in 25, but also in 24. So you got to think that a little bit of a revenge factor is on their mind. Let me tell you a little bit more about Santino Haney and Cole Bowers as it relates to the Bishop Hartley win. Santino Haney had 22 total points. Anytime you have that kind of stat line in a tournament game, you got to imagine something went well for you and your team. It did. He also had the game-winning bucket in the final seconds of overtime to defeat Bishop Hartley, again, 74-72. Cole Bowers had 25 total points. He was 7 of 9 on his three-point shots. With that being said, you can't help but say Santino Haney and Cole Bowers are this week's Dempsey's dogs. Again, I just gave you the stat line. Both of them with 20-plus points in a tournament game. That's always good for your team, and you can't think of anything better. Santino Haney and Cole Bowers, we'll see if they can keep the momentum going on Saturday against Bishop Watterson. For their sake and the sake of Steubenville and what might be on their mind, listen, I've got nothing to lose as it relates to the Bishop Watterson program. I have no affiliation with them or Columbus for that matter. So for all I care, hey, between me and Steubenville, I hope Steubenville just beats the shit out of Watterson. I want those guys to get the revenge over Watterson for ending their football season the last couple of years. That segment brought to you by Mizer Printing and Graphics, as always. Okay. Also, who is before we wrap up this evening, we got a couple more things to talk about. Who is Dempsey? Dempsey, you saw the image of him just a moment ago. That mean-looking bastard. He was a longtime friend of the program, friend of mine for about 10 years, almost 10 years, since 2016. And he's dead, and what better way to pay your respects than naming a segment after a man's best friend. So that's the backstory on Dempsey's dogs. All right. It's kind of a formality at this point that in between segments we take a sip of coffee, so you know what's coming. Look at it. I think I screwed up on the coffee tonight too because this is way lighter than I like it to be. Another friend of the program helped us out tremendously by putting coffee creamer in the fridge just in the office over there. But if it wasn't for that, I just drink straight motor oil, which is the espresso blend cold brew. We don't need to get into coffee theory on this show tonight, but there's too much cream in this, and that's my fault. I put too much in there, but again, you got to stay caffeinated. You got to do what you got to do when you're traveling down 77 to Parkersburg and then 50 over to Athens. And again, by the time you're watching this, we're probably on our way out of Athens, and so you got to stay hydrated and caffeinated. A little bit of a recap as it relates to the girls' basketball tournament in Ohio. Just to get you up to speed, right? Tusky Valley lost to Portsmouth in the regional finals, 66-48. Shenandoah lost to Harvest Prep, 52-42, also in the regional finals. And Indian Creek, who we thought might have a chance to go pretty far in this thing, they also lost to Circleville, 40-26 in the regional finals. But it's not entirely grim or bleak for Indian Creek. That wasn't supposed to rhyme, but here we are. Cadence Walker ended up winning District 5 Player of the Year. Congratulations to her. I remember her making several impact plays in that OVAC championship game against Oak Glen, and I remember some of the keys to the game that Coach Eft sent over to us before that game, and how fitting Coach Eft, District 5 Coach of the Year. So although Creek's season didn't end the way that they wanted it to, some things to be proud of for the Redskins up in Wintersville. Walker, District 5 Player of the Year. Eft, District 5 Coach of the Year. Great stuff up there in Wintersville. All right. That's all we've got for Hometown Huddle on this March 11th show. We'll be back March 18th. We may or may not, in fact, we will have a pretty big interview coming for you. It's like we're starting to stack these things. It's like we're starting to build momentum. We're snowballing at Hometown Huddle and the Harco Media Network. We've got a maybe a state championship winning baseball coach coming on the show next week. You're going to want to tune into that. We've got a couple things we want to talk about. I heard Dirk DeCoy saying some things about potentially having OVAC football playoffs. We want to not only talk about that, but talk to him about that. We'll see if we can end up getting that done. Obviously, we talked a lot about boys and girls basketball this evening, and that means we've got things to recap when we talk next week on the 18th. Once again, a reminder, when Indian Valley consolidated, this is a trivia question, when Indian Valley consolidated in the fall of 1988, who did it beat for its first football win? Which school did Indian Valley defeat? Hey, bonus points. Maybe you get. I can't. I wish I could grant you 2 free rounds of golf at the country club. But if you could provide the score and the date of the game, that would be awesome. But I can't legally do that. I can't promise you that. But that would be cool. Also, speaking of trivia, we hope you've been paying attention to the fact that a new show is coming to the Harco Media Network on March 30th, Main Street Message. I've been very fortunate to get a behind-the-scenes look at what that's going to be. It's going to be incredible. You're going to love it. If you're somebody who loves things that relate to local businesses, local government, how things work, if you're just interested in the way things go down, you're going to be interested in catching Main Street Message when that releases on March 30th. But we don't know who the host is going to be. I do. You don't know who the host is going to be. So if you want to, we could figure out if you want to, we can figure out what we can give you. If you want to email the answer to that trivia question as well to drakewatson@harcomedia.com. If you think you have an idea as to who the host of Main Street Message is going to be, hit us up and we'll see what we can do for you. But you also, if you're listening and you're from Cadiz or you want to make a trip to Cadiz, maybe you can find out on Saturday. Big village event, hometown huddle. I got your 6 Main Street Message. Everybody will be here at the studio. The door will be wide open if you want to come, and we'll have a great time on Saturday. With that being said, that's all we've got on tonight's episode of Hometown Huddle. For everybody at Harco Media Network, I'm Drake Watson saying so long, and thanks for watching.